Hi, I'm Mary Jo. I've been a nurse for 50 years. I have lost over 100 pounds as a postmenopausal woman and reversed chronic disease in my life. And I'd like to share the information that nutritional science has taught me and to encourage health. And in order to do that today, I thought perhaps it would be worthwhile to talk about insulin resistance. So, what is insulin resistance? Well, first, you probably have to talk about what is insulin. In a normal situation, insulin is liberated from the beta cells of the pancreas in response to a slow rise in blood sugar, allowing a low physiologic response, corresponding response with insulin. Insulin is the key that unlocks the cell. It fits into receptor sites, sometimes called caveolins, and opens the cell and allows glucose readily to be transported in and used for energy. And when that works the way it's supposed to, you feel great, you feel empowered, you feel like you can grow muscles, you feel wonderful. Children grow up. It's fabulous. Now, how can this system go askew? Well, several different things can happen. One is especially eating heavily processed foods. No fiber, lots of sugar, salt, oil, lots of calories, lots of chemicals. But when you eat that kind of food, you have a rapid absorption of all of those sugars and chemicals into the bloodstream, and it like overwhelms the body, and the body says, crisis, crisis, we need tons of insulin, and the pancreas tries to dump out tons of insulin. And so part of this overwork of the pancreas and this upsurgence of excessive insulin in the body is response to rapidly absorbing glucose due to lack of fiber and lack of nutrients accompanying it. Okay, so what's going to happen now? When you have an onslaught of insulin, insulin is a growth hormone. And the bad news is if you stop growing up, you've got one place to grow, and that is out. So insulin is like a fabulous fat storage hormone of the body. Who knew, right? We thought it was all about sugar. So insulin will do the following things. It will try to get the glucose into the cell. It will also encourage leftovers to be used to produce fat. It will increase angiogenesis, which is the growth of blood vessels from already occurring blood vessels. So now you've got a fat supply, minimal may it be, to grow more visceral fat. And on top of that, this angiogenic pattern can encourage cancer development in the body. So low physiologic insulin, perfect for energy, growth, muscle development, wonderful. But too much, we're talking atherosclerosis, heart disease, cancer development, increased visceral fat development. And if what you're eating has toxins in it, that encourages more fat development because the body is going to take those toxins and throw it into a fat cell rather than let you die today because you ate that. This is not a very pretty picture. Low physiologic insulin, fabulous. High insulin, not so much. Okay, now what is insulin resistance? So the insulin's not working so well. How does that happen? Well, that's all about weight gain from eating non-nutrient foods and increased saturated fat in the diet, which primarily comes from animal products. But do be cautious because a lot of people think that extra virgin olive oil is just a fabulous product that we should all be eating. I don't really understand. Okay, the Mediterranean diet maybe made it look good for a while, but we don't even understand how the people of the Mediterranean in the past used it. They didn't cook with it. They sauteed their vegetables in water, and then they would drip just a tiny drizzle of extra virgin olive oil, not previously heated, on their food. So the quantity is greatly diminished, even though there are still 120 calories per tablespoon, and on top of that, 14% saturated fat. Now, most Americans eat a very high animal product diet, and a lot of people are going, we need the protein, we need the protein. Well, I think that one thing we have failed to recognize with conventional husbandry practices is that a lot of animal products contain way more saturated fat percentage and way less protein percent, especially than in the past. So that's something you should think about. Excessive amounts of saturated fat, foods without a significant nutrient value, and high caloric all lead to the development of body fat. And that leads to the development of a myelolipid sheath on muscle cells and liver cells that comes up the lock so the key doesn't work, which encourages increase in blood sugar, which causes more insulin to be put out. And if by this time you're having a diet pop to try and help yourself out, that's going to stimulate even more insulin production. And remember, excessive insulin production here is going to encourage you to get fatter and fatter and fatter and more diabetic. Also, glucose running around the blood vessels can't talk. I've done about 100 takes of this conversation, which is why I'm getting a little befuddled right now. But excessive amounts of glucose in the bloodstream won't just hang around there doing nothing. They're actually attached to like amino acids. They call this process glycation. So this is a process where endogenous glycation occurs, producing advanced glycation end products, also referred to as AGEs, ages. Ages make you age, which indeed they do. So there are also exogenous sources of ages as well. In fact, Dr. Michael Greger says that you get a large amount of ages in eating conventional meat products. So you can think about that. And once again, talking about ages, that should be another video. So does this make sense? Insulin is a growth hormone. In low physiologic doses, it produces energy, and it allows children to grow and adults to develop muscles and run long distances, right? In large quantities, partly because the key to the cell has been all gummed up, causing larger and larger quantities of insulin to be released, it really significantly encourages fat development, angiogenesis, cancer, and heart disease. So how can you stop this? Well, one of the things you want to do is slow the absorption of glucose. And how can you do that? Eat foods that have fiber. Some of the most significant foods to counter this whole situation are greens and beans. Greens and cruciferous vegetables have great healing properties for the entire body. Legumes should be a significant part of anyone's diet. It provides lots of delicious protein without the fat, and even though it does contain carbohydrate, the resistant starch in beans causes the glucose from this meal, not only this meal, but the next time you eat, to be absorbed very slowly into the bloodstream, requiring less and less insulin. So, doesn't that make sense? Avoidance of saturated fat in animal products. And I would suggest not using extra virgin any oil. I think that oil is not at all necessary. It has no fiber. It really, if one lady was telling me, oh, but her cardiologist, I hope I'm not making fun of anybody, cardiologist told her she needs her polyphenols from her extra virgin olive oil. And I'm like, you can get polyphenols from all these other foods, including nuts and seeds. Why do you have to get them from extra virgin olive oil? And if you eat nuts and seeds, they have sterols and stanols in them, which help pull cholesterol out of the bloodstream and into the stool. I mean, we're talking win-win situation here. So I hope that answers the question of what is insulin resistance and gives you a little information on what to do about it. A whole foods plant-based diet is fabulous in diminishing the myelolipid sheath, undoing the resistance, allowing insulin to work effectively. Eating a diet high in fiber. I mean, when you eat fruit, it should have fiber in it. When you eat greens, it has fiber in it. When you eat a candy bar, it has no fiber in it. Don't go there. Eat frozen cherries instead. Much more delicious anyway. So I think you get my drift. Fiber is the key to prevent the development and perhaps the reversal of diabetes. So with that, that's all for now. And I thank you for your time and attention. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And goodbye from Nurse Mary Jo.